Hey everyone, welcome to Happy to See Me. I'm Erika Casupanan. I'm so pumped for this episode. We're talking to my pal, Jay Northcott from Big Brother Canada Season 10. Before we get into it, just want to go over the housekeeping. If you haven't yet, please subscribe, like, rate, review Happy to See Me on whatever podcasting platform you're on. And if you want to watch this on YouTube and you're not already, we're going to have all of the episodes on YouTube so you can see the video of the guests and I chatting. And also follow the podcast on Instagram. The handle is @HappyToSeeMePod. So if you have any questions or feedback or ideas for the episodes, you can hit me up there. Cool. Housekeeping done. Now, talking to Jay. I'm so excited for this conversation. I loved talking to them. Jay is Indigenous, queer, non-binary, Black, and they represented all of these communities on Big Brother Canada. So we talk about what it's like being on reality TV where you get voted out before getting onto the jury and you have to watch the season you're on play out on TV while you're at home. We also talk about representing different communities. We talk about how Jay shared some of the Indigenous customs from their family with the house guests and with Canada. And we talk about theater and storytelling and the importance of making sure we're seeing different people represented in different stories. Jay is a talented theater director, actor, performer, drag queen, writer, you name it. They're also running DEI corporate workshops. So there's so much to get into here. I think you're really going to love hearing this conversation. So let's get into it. I hope you enjoy it. Hi, Jay. Welcome.
Hi, Erika. Thanks for having me.
Thank you, friend, for coming. How do we know each other? First, let's say that. How do we know each other?
Yeah. So we both did reality TV. I did Big Brother Canada. You did Survivor. And where did we meet? What place did we meet? We met at somebody's.
We met at
a Survivor. Yeah, at a Survivor viewing party, and I was like, "Hey, just to let you know, I was also on reality TV. I think you did really great. Congratulations for being like a POC winner from Canada. Like that's so cool." And then after that, we just actually started chatting, and we had a great time.
Yeah, because I feel like you weren't there for the party. You were coming for something after, right? So we were kind of ships crossing in the night, and we happened to meet.
Yeah, I think I was late for the Survivor viewing party. So then I was late. And then it was also my friend's drag open stage. So I was going to see that too. But I just missed the last half of it. But then you were there. And I was like, oh my God. Yeah. And I just got off of reality TV. I think like literally maybe like 2 months before that. So I think Big Brother was still going on. And I was like, so I was in this weird headspace of what happens when you're off reality TV, you know?
That must have been so weird. What is that like? Okay, because for me, when I was on Survivor, we filmed the show, then we come home, we have a few months, and then the show is airing. What is it like for you? You just get eliminated, and then you go home, and the show is still airing.
Yeah, it is. So they always say everything's live, but anything on any TV show, doesn't matter if it's sports or anything like that, it always is like live to air. And ours is a little bit of a delay on the Thursday. So I got evicted, and then and it was a sad day. It doesn't feel really great. I got home. I like had maybe 2 hours in with all like the production people like talking like, "Are you okay? Are you gonna hurt yourself? Like, are you sad?" And I was like, "No, I'm fine. It's just a game. It's fine. Whatever." And they literally drove me home that night, and I got to watch my live episode, my live eviction at home with a bottle of tequila. I still haven't watched my episodes. I think that's the one thing because it was so fresh.
Yeah.
But like I didn't really watch any of my episodes except parts of my eviction episode, which I barely remember because I was pretty drunk from getting off the show. Because you don't get to drink on the show either, right? So it was great watching it because I got to do like eviction parties and meet people that really enjoyed the show, and I kind of got to give them that intel of like what was happening. But it's a very odd experience knowing that the show that you were on is still going on and that the game is still going on and that you know these people and you want them to make different choices and it's like real time. So that's the only odd thing. Like that's a really odd thing to do.
Wow. So I could imagine watching the show as it's airing and when you're home, you're shaking your fist at the TV. Since you know these people, you're probably
Yeah.
thinking, I know what's actually going on.
Yeah. Yeah, even the final episode, right? Is like it's the my friend Josh, he won the final HOH, which means he gets to choose who goes to the final two with him. And like from what we see watching the TV show, I was like, and also I tried to get Kevin evicted, who was one of the people that was in the top three. I tried to get him evicted week one. So like so I was like, I already knew he was a snake, and Josh just didn't see that his best friend was the person he should have taken to the final two, but he took Kevin thinking that he had a better game than him. But because now we get to see all the diary room stuff, I'm like, oh my gosh, like, come on, please make the right choice. And you don't. And then also you go to the live taping at the end. So it's just me crying in the back, being in the same building, being like, please, Josh, make the right decision.
Oh, no.
And he didn't, and he lost, and then Kevin won. So, but Kevin's a great guy, so
Oh, they're both awesome.
snaky, but yeah, a little bit of a snake in the game, but really, really, really good as a person.
What was your
Yeah.
relationship with reality TV like before you did Big Brother?
Yeah, that's a great question. I freaking love competition-based reality TV. I've been watching Survivor, The Challenge, Big Brother, like even like I really liked what the heck is it called? There was like the gay version of Love is Blind, but Are You the One?
Oh, I loved
Love
that
that.
season.
Like, oh my gosh, so good. And like, so I've loved reality TV for a really long time. I've never really been into like the like Real Housewives or anything like that. But even like the new show Traders that came on, such an interesting, weird concept, and kind of just like a game that you played at school. Like, I love it. I love that we can. There's two things that I really love about it. The thing that you can see of real people doing things for money that they would never do in real life. And then also just how quickly these people become connected and how hard it is to either evict people or how much you can hate them and want them to leave. That's something that I've never felt in my entire life. So when I was on the show, that feeling, I was like, oh, this is why I loved it, is because there is so much reality in it of how it's such a microcosm of real life. So I think that's why I've always loved watching it. And I loved watching it with my family. Like that was a big thing. Like me and my mom would always watch it together, and it was like the one time that we were like never arguing because for some reason we always like the same contestants. So it brings me back to home as well.
It's kind of crazy
Yeah.
that reality TV is so chaotic, but that was your peaceful TV watching experience with your mom. You just enjoyed the chaos
Yeah.
together.
Yeah, and I think maybe actually now I'm thinking about it, it probably even started with like The Price is Right. Like I just really liked like watching these people have this opportunity to change their lives, right? Like reality TV does give you that huge opportunity to change your life and to also like change the world in certain ways, because there's not really a demographic of people that watch reality TV. It's just some people are addicted to competition-based reality TV and some people hate it, you know?
I love that you're so hopeful when you watch it, because it sounds like it's not necessarily about the conflict, but how you're saying, oh, these people have this opportunity to change their life. And I looked up this quote from you that you said at some point, I think it was after the show. It was after you came off of
Yeah.
the show, you did this interview, and you said, we can't change our past, and we never will, but we can learn from it and grow from it. So let us take these moments to connect with each other and create a better Canada for everyone. So for me, it seemed like you came off the show. It's obviously hard being eliminated, but then you still had hope. So can you tell me about that?
Yeah. Yeah. I think it really bounced back and forth because right when I got off the show, it was, you also have the interesting thing on Big Brother is that like, I think from the difference of Survivor is that once the final two people are on the block for eviction, you're in the house for like 3 or 4 days before you get evicted. So you're like working your ass off to try to stay in the house and like manipulate people and see why you're better for them to keep you and all these other things. And there's sometimes just this moment where it's not that you give up, but you have this moment of being like, well, what's the impact that I can leave in the house, and what's the impact that I can leave on Canada for me? That was my big thing. So when I left the house, I just and as you know, it's like I'm one of the first people that looked like me to be on be on Canadian TV, right? And to have that as when I was like 8 years old, I never saw anybody that looked like me in TV or in theater. And to be that person that now, even after, the best thing was seeing the messages that you get from people that you've actually changed their lives. You know, you've changed. They think that they have the opportunity to do these things too. They're not as scared of it. They grow from it. And I I had dealt with a lot of adversity growing up as a kid. Like I lived in a very small town. I lived in like lower middle class, like probably even lower class, like poverty line in a trailer park. And I think that all of those things that made me a person now, I can't ever regret those things,
Mhm.
because if you regret them and you live off of those as like, oh, this is all life is going to give you, then what's the point of trying to go forward? Um, I think the whole thing is all of those obstacles that are put in your place or in your way are to help you grow and achieve something more. So even though I was out second, which is still so annoying to me, but but even though I was out second, I think that there was a huge impact that it made on me and it made on the community. I think, and I still have people that talk to me about how I made that impact, even only being on 6 episodes. Um, and that to me is all I ever wanted, because that's why I do theater. That's the reason I went on reality TV, is because I want people to feel like this is a possibility for them. This is something that they can do.
That's amazing. And I agree. I feel like you were only there for the first 2 weeks. And even in that time, you made an impact. I know one of the most memorable moments was the smudging ceremony. So, for
Yeah.
people who are listening who don't know what that is, can you explain what it is and explain why it was so important for you to do that on the show?
Yeah, absolutely. So I am half black, and then I am a quarter Dene, which is an Indigenous community in like northern Canada, and then a quarter white. And my family is chaotic, and and I find that a lot of the time they're always at this like level 10 of they never ever slow down, where there's always a problem, there's always something that we can fight about in our family and all these other things. My grandfather is kind of the person that connects us all back together all the time. Always the person that brings people back together, and he's the person in my family. And I've always been known as a leader in my community, and he's always been known as a like community gatherer, so somebody that can connect people. His medicine that he can use more than anything is solving conflict, creating connection, creating community, and so smudging has been a big part of our lives, my whole life. That me and my grandfather have done forever, and smudging is kind of this. It can mean a lot of different things to a lot of different Indigenous communities and a lot of different people, but there are 4 medicines that you can use, which are sage, sweetgrass, tobacco, and why am I forgetting? And sage. Nope, I said sage. And
Yeah.
cedar. Sorry. And so all of them burn for different things, for different parts of the medicine wheel. And the whole part of it is it's a cleanse. It's a you're taking something from the earth that is grown in the earth. You're setting it on fire, and that all of that energy goes up into the sky, up to Creator or whatever, however you believe in it. And for me, it's always been something that gives me time. I'm very ADD. I'm very high energy. I'm very all these things. And it's something that is just so simple, so easy. And it's just a moment to take a breath, to connect. And I thought it was really important to do it on the show, because I've seen all of these seasons, and especially even after the show, talking to these people that still hate each other like so many years later, or can't stand these people because of something that happened on the show. And I really wanted us to start the beginning of our um, relationships together as something that's cleansing. And then even at the end of the show, I did it again, but like nobody saw it. It was just like a goodbye for me as well. Um, it just allows me to let go of some things that I'm not very good at letting go at for the most part. So yeah, that's kind of why it was really important, and also it's never been done on global TV in that sense. Um, and I think that people that watch it in the US and other places that maybe aren't as connected to like Indigenous communities, it was really something like it was a teaching moment. Something, it's just ceremony. It's something to connect people. And yeah, I just like doing it all the time. Like it's just a cleansing thing for myself. Like I literally have it in my drawer beside me right now. And it's just whenever I know that there's Chaos J coming out, or something that I'm not listening to the earth, I'm not listening to my surroundings. It's the one thing that kind of cleanses me.
Do you find it actually helped to bring the people in the house together?
Yeah, I think they learn to. I think when you teach somebody something new, like Marty, ugh, I hate that I even have to bring him up. But anyway, he like it's something he's never experienced before. There are people in my cast that never experienced it before, and and as Canadians that have done such a like that there's been such a huge genocide, there's been all of this harm done to Indigenous people. There's so many teachings that we can still value in Western culture that can connect us, and that create that create connection. That's what I wanted.
Oh, that's amazing.
Yeah.
When I was filming Survivor, one of my castmates, Deshaun, big reality TV fan, and he actually watched Big Brother Canada. I think he watched all of the seasons. So he was
Oh, nice.
asking me for all of this context on what Canada was like. He was asking, what's Alberta like? What's Hamilton like? And at the time of filming, I think it was Big Brother Canada season 9 was airing. So he was asking me about Kiefer, and he was saying,
Yeah.
oh, why is it so important for him to talk about Haida Gwaii, and can you explain the scene about him speaking his language? And I thought it was so cool because the choice to have that visible on TV, and even Kiefer proudly talking about his culture. Now I am in Fiji, and I'm from Canada. I had never heard of Haida Gwaii before, but I'm in Fiji and I'm
Right.
talking about it with this guy from LA. And it does make an impact. And now we're aware and we're curious and we're able to talk about it. So I'm sure
Yeah.
that you being you and you having the smudging ceremony had a similar impact. Like, what was the response from the Indigenous community and the non-Indigenous community from that?
Yeah, even Arissa Cox, like the host of Big Brother Canada, like she does a land acknowledgement, which is something that a lot of people in the US don't even know about, right? It's just something that's become really a huge part of Canadian culture, is making sure that we acknowledge the land that we are on. And for me, it was interesting. It was both ways. It was both sides. Like from my community, a lot of them were very proud of me. I did have some of my Indigenous leaders that really weren't super stoked about it, but the reason is not because they're not excited for me to share Indigenous traditions with other people. That's a very important part of our culture, is to share these things. But that filming is a very confusing thing when it comes to um, indigeneity, especially when it comes to ceremony. Because ceremony is kind of like, I think of it in the easiest way of thinking about it is like theater. You see a theater show and it's live. It's never going to be the same if you film it. It's not gonna be the same experience. And with ceremony, it's the same thing. It's like looking in on something that is very um, that moment. You're supposed to be very present. You're very connected. So when filming it, sometimes I think like there are certain people in Indigenous communities that don't 100% feel like it's a good thing. I'm at this point where like I didn't ever grow up on reserve. I didn't grow up in within that community that had my leaders really close by that taught me those teachings, and most of my teachings were from the Plains Cree people of Alberta, and in that our whole thing is share share the fuck out of it. Like share
Mm-hmm,
as much
mm-hmm.
as you can about community, share as much as you can about experience, because then people will learn. People will be less afraid. And the best thing was talking to the people in my cast, talking to people after, understanding why my indigeneity is so important to me, and why my blackness is so important to me, why my queerness is so important to me. And you did have some people on Twitter and stuff being like, "Oh, why does this person always need to be using like their non-binariness or their blackness or their indigeneity? They're just using it to get further in the game." And I'm like, that's just like that's who I am as a person. I'm not using it to get further in the game. It's just like it's inherently me, right? So if I decided not to share those things, if I decided not to do that, it would just be like stupid. Like it would just be dumb, right? I would just be hiding this huge part of me that makes me the person that I am, right? And the reason why they cast me. A lot of the reasons why they cast me is because I'm very strong minded about making sure that EDI, like equity, diversity, and inclusion, is included in how we cast, how we look at the people that are in the house, how we work in theater and film. And if I didn't share that, then maybe I would have got farther, maybe I wouldn't, but I don't think that that was a reason why I left. I think it was a reason why they put me on the show. They wanted people to hear more of our stories, right?
100%. I feel like within any cultural community, as you said earlier, there's so many differing beliefs. Everybody is different. And I think for you, you're part of the Black community, you're part of the Indigenous community, you're part of the queer community. So you represent so many people. Did you feel like you had a sense of responsibility to represent them well when you were on the show?
Yeah, I also yes, and also that I think that um I think that the most important way to show what your community is or who you are as a person is to also show the individuality of humans. Like,
Mhm.
yes, all of those things are part of me, but like me and Josh, oh, this is a great example. Me and Josh are both Black, Indigenous, and queer. Josh was also on my season. He came in second place, but we are very, very, very different people. We have this like base level thing that is very similar, but I think what Canada got to see and what the house guests got to see, especially, that we hold very different spaces. We still, even though we were raised by single moms, we have so many things in common, but we're two very different people. And I think we always try to lump everybody in as like, this is what Blackness looks like, this is what queerness looks like. And this just showing people all the time is that it's not actually that scary. Like Blackness is not inherently the same. So you can't see Blackness as right or wrong. You can't see Blackness as right or wrong, or queerness as right or wrong, because there's just so many different people in this world, and they're just human at the end of the day. There's just one check mark that you can put on like a equity, diversity, and inclusion fill in form, you know? I hope that doesn't sound like shitty.
No, no, it doesn't. It doesn't. But I get what you're saying, because we can be part of many communities, but at the end of the day, we can only really represent ourselves. And I think that through showing
Yeah.
anybody that I am, in my case, I'm an Asian woman, but I'm just being myself, I feel like that's strong enough. There's no perfect Asian woman. It's just we want to be able to see that people can, again, just move through the world as themselves.
Yeah, and then they can see somebody like you on the show and win, and they're like, maybe I'm not exactly like Erika, but I look like Erika, or I wanted to dye my hair purple like Erika, and like these are just things. But seeing yourself is a very important thing. But seeing like seeing your identity on screen is very, very important, but it doesn't mean that that identity is the whole end all be all of that identity. But it's just one little facet of it. It's just one thing. But just being able to see somebody like that means like I can show my personality as this queer person, as this Black person, and be successful and be happy and find joy, right?
100%.
Or be a big dick. You can also be a big asshole too on the show if you want to, you know?
That's true, actually. There's a
Yeah.
lot of assholes.
Yeah.
It's not all kumbaya, okay? We encounter
Yeah.
a lot of assholes in this world.
Yeah, absolutely. And they can be any shape, any color, any size. Like there's assholes everywhere.
And also, they're not always assholes. And sometimes people are only sometimes assholes, and sometimes we're assholes. But I feel like
Oh, yeah.
we're fine.
We're pretty nice, but
Yeah.
sometimes we can be, we can be a little cutthroat. I was a little cutthroat on the show, you had to be once in a while.
Okay, so I wanted to ask about that, because the experience of watching yourself on the show is wild. And I think something that has always deterred me from Big Brother is the idea of the live feeds too, because that's just so much access to me all of the time. And what was it like with the live feeds? Did you ever watch yourself on the live feeds? And was there ever anything that got caught that you wish didn't make it?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, there's I think it's very interesting to see what my edit is on the show compared to what all the things that because people also screen record the live stream. So you can't really hide anything you say on the show. There's a slight delay probably, so that they can stop it if anything is getting too crazy, because actually apparently our season had a lot of stops and starts for the live streams, more than most seasons, because they're really, I think they're really nervous about, because Canada is kind of this way a lot of the time. We're like really scared to show that like there's still like inherent racism, inherent bias, like that all of us have. And we want Canada to be seen as it's like perfect kumbaya place that everybody's equal and blah, 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 which isn't true. So I was like, don't have the live streams if you're not going to show all this stuff. But the big one is that I think that some of the fights I got in with a person named Kyle on my season, I really wish that they would have shown the entire fight so that it didn't look like I was just trying to use my race to stay in the show. I said a really stupid, I use I'm from a trailer park in Alberta. I use a lot of crude language sometimes. And I said one thing about Tanisha that I've apologized to her a million times for, but it wasn't in the hindsight of what people thought it was. It was just a turn of phrase for me, but it affected people, and those are things that you don't think of, that you're just like used to saying those in front of one or two people, and it's just a turn of phrase. If somebody could call you out on it, but um, it's not going to affect the rest of your life. And It's tough that when if you Google my name now and you see the first YouTube videos, it's all the live streams of the things, and I'm like, that's fucking annoying that those are the things that that people hear. But then then you get all the other interviews, you get all the other things of things that were really positive. And I also think it caught a lot of really funny things that I really enjoy watching back. Like there's one moment of me and JC Lynn, who was on the show, and we're just talking about this guy Gino, who is so hot. If you ever just want to Instagram Gino's Instagram, do it. He's a babe, and now they're dating. But I was just like, so what do you think? She's like, I don't know, blah, blah, blah. Like I was like, would you ever bring a tattooed guy home? And she's like, my mom would kill me. My mom would kill me. And we still now joke about it. About her mom loves him now, and
Oh.
they're really, they moved in together. They've lived together since like the show started essentially. But like all of those funny moments, I freaking love. I love that they're there forever. Um, Other ones, wish they weren't, but that's editing for you, you know. Yeah, they also the new commercial that just came out for Big Brother just has me crying, which I'm not a huge crier, so to watch that every time I turn on global TV or something like that, and that commercial goes the drama, and then it's just me being like, like it's just I'm like great, awesome, love looking at that.
I feel like somehow those moments always are the ones that make TV. I have this clip of me, and I think it's now become a gif of me eating coconut or something, and I'm chewing with my mouth open. And I had friends message me after saying, I have never seen you chew with your mouth open, but now here's the gif. So
yeah, and now they're just like waiting. They're, every time they eat with you, they're like, just make Eric, nope, close your mouth,
I
while you're
know,
eating,
I know. I know they're blocking themselves and hoping that I don't spit on them or something.
I know it's wild. It's wild. It's wild what they catch. It's wild. It's wild the way people perceive you. It is. It's like a silly little thing. But like people are mostly nice except to me on Twitter. Rather than that, everybody's really nice. Like, but I think it's also like I don't understand why people are so serious about it. Sometimes I'm like, this is not your life. It's just a fun thing to watch. Like somebody threw a drink on Helena one time right after the finale, just because they were like mad at her for sending home one of the other guests, and it's just
Wait,
like
just a perfect stranger threw a
yeah,
drink at
yeah,
her.
yeah. She was. We were at our finale in Niagara, and she went out for dinner with her parents, and somebody like walked past the table and threw a drink at her. Called her
No. Okay.
Ratlina. Yeah.
Okay, reality TV fans who are listening to this, do not throw drinks at people. Please, please. There's boundaries, please.
Yeah.
We're all just doing our best in hard situations. I'm really sorry that happened to her. That's wild.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I've got some like weird things of people like yelling out the window, but like kind of used to that sometimes because I'm just like who I am. But yeah, it's really funny how many you've probably experienced this too. How many people have opinions about how you should have played the game when like they would never play the game, you know?
No, I think I'm lucky because for me, it's just congrats, you won. I wish I played like you. So I guess that's one of the
Yeah.
benefits. Isn't it?
Yeah. They're like, I would have broke the what was it? The sand
hourglass.
the sand glass. The hourglass. I would have broke that too. Yeah, for sure.
Who wouldn't?
Who wouldn't? Who wouldn't? Honestly, it's so much fun. You get to break things. I love breaking things.
Okay, with you, something else that always stands out is your style. I feel like it's very easy to recognize you anywhere because you are always in these incredible shapes, patterns, colors, everything mixed together all the time. So I want to ask, within the context of reality TV, picking your clothes is a big part of production, and I consider it a big part of the strategy too. So can you tell everybody about how you really thought about the clothes you wanted to bring onto the show?
Yeah, absolutely. Um, so one, I was told by production that I had the most heavy bag that they've ever brought into the Big Brother Canada house. Around 200 pounds of clothes. It took 7 people to close my bag. And I also, the one thing that's really unfair when you're good at style and like fashion is that they never give you clothes because they just want to use yours. It's like everybody else on the show got these big bags of clothes at the end, and I got nothing because they were like, we just knew you had the clothes. So, and I was like, whatever, I wanted new clothes. It's not fair. But yeah, I think it did come a huge thing into my strategy, thinking of, I wanted people to see how I was really hoping people would, I already knew that I was going to be seen as a huge threat. I'm 6 feet tall. I'm loud. I'm a theater artist, so they think that I know like acting stuff. And I thought about changing what my career was, but I think that I would get caught in that, and I don't really want to get caught in a lie. But the one thing that I wanted people to think of me was like vapid, just like kind of dumb and like just talk and like change my outfits like 4 or 5 times a day and still have enough outfits for all 70 days. And I really thought like, and it did really work. Like there, for a lot of the time, especially the women in my group, they really thought that all I was there for was like to look pretty. And the only difference was is that the guys needed a target, and some of them just didn't really like that. But then I also had the best time. There is one, my favorite moment I think in the whole time that I was on Big Brother is we did. I knew I was going home. We did a night of 1,000 J's because I had so many clothes that I still wanted to show. That I still wanted to show Canada. So I dressed up every single person in some of my clothes, and we did a runway walk. We did this whole fashion show, and it was so cute. And also, it's so nice to like. I wish it was something that I would have worked a little bit harder with, like the like broy dudes in my cast. Just be like, hey, try this on. Like it is like, because if you look at like early 70s and 80s fashion of men, like crop tops, all that other kind of stuff was so in. Like that was like showing skin and that kind of stuff was amazing. So I really wanted them to, and I think I did. Gino, I think, has a crop top now. Like I think people are really questioning like how they dress, right? And you could also see, it also really helped me see how people were perceiving me as somebody who dressed a little bit louder, a little bit more eccentric, to see if they would even take me in the long run, if they've ever dealt with somebody like me, if they could trust somebody like me. Because you can see right away that, yeah, maybe you could make an alliance with somebody early, but the way they treat you right off the jump, right off those first couple of days, you know that you can't trust them forever. That was one thing that I really learned very quickly.
Wow. Clothes are very important, okay? Like the
Yeah.
strategy of clothes and how you're perceived and how you come off. It's almost like the performance of the clothing is part of the performance of who you are. And that's a big
Yeah.
part in terms of knowing what people think of you in a game like that.
And how is that for you? Like, how is that with you when it came to like clothes and like, so I think you get like what, 3 pieces of clothing for the entire time that you're there?
We actually got a few more clothes than previous seasons. For me, I mean, I thought about everything so thoroughly because you have to think about the colors you need to wear. You have to make sure that they look good on TV. So there's certain patterns you can't wear on TV. They also, production said to us, if there's anything that even remotely seems like it would be functional outside, it's not going to get approved. So don't even think about sending in those pants that zip off into shorts or anything. But then with me, I'm also thinking about, okay, what's something that shows my personal style? What is something that makes me look not intimidating? And I think that production also wanted me to kind of look like a pretty princess. So they were like, wear a headband. So I got the most over the top headband that I could find at the time. And then since it's me and I think about things a lot, I also thought, okay, what are the brands that I should wear to set myself up for business opportunities later, to partner with them and to see if I can set up brand deals and make some money. And the thing is, I actually worked with a couple of the brands that I thought that I could get. So there you go. She's a businesswoman.
I love that. Also, one of my biggest strategies was, because I thought I was going to win HOH really early, which I would have if I was able to participate in the first one, but I wasn't. But the one of my big strategies was your iPod, because your iPod, you get to put like 200 songs on it. And I was like, and it's the only access to media you have. So it's like, how do you show your personality in it, but then also have music that everybody in the cast is going to enjoy? So like I was like, I like some country music. So I was like, I put some country music on there, put some like I put some oldies on there. I put even a little bit of French music because I knew there was going to be French people in the house. Like everything and in between, you're thinking of all of these things beforehand, you know? And yeah, it's wild. It's wild just how like an iPod can, because like one guy, his name is Kyle. He had 3 songs on his iPod, and people were pissed for the whole week that all they have is like 3 songs because he didn't do this assignment that you're supposed to do before you come in the house.
No, I can't even imagine. Truly, I can't imagine. For us, before we start filming, there's a few days of pre-production. It's stuff people talk about it on the internet, so I'm not sharing anything that's new. So we
Yeah.
see the other cast, but we're not allowed to talk to each other, and we're not allowed to talk at all. And we can't have electronics, but we can read books. So I thought,
Right.
oh, the book I read is also an important communications tool. So I only brought in YA fiction.
I love that because people are obviously going to be looking at everything that you have. Yeah, yeah, yeah. That's
I'm just like,
wild.
let them think I'm just a little kid. And I think it worked.
Yeah, I mean, it obviously did. You won.
Ding. Okay, I want to ask about you outside of Big Brother because, in terms of the arts, you are a theater director, performer, actor, drag artist, and you grew up in a small town in Canada where I'd assume
Yeah.
that there's not a lot of access to these things. So, how did you get into the arts?
Yeah. I was really lucky when I moved around a lot when I was a kid. So I lived in like 16 different houses before I was 18, all in Alberta, weirdly enough, and just up and down. My mom just likes moving up and down Alberta. So when I was in Fort McMurray, which is like, if for anybody that's listening, it is so north in the world that it gets to minus 50 degrees. It is so cold. It is so cold. And we did a production of Wizard of Oz, and I had no friends because I just moved there. And my mom was like, just do it, just audition, just do it. And I was like, no, it's stupid. Art's stupid. And then I got to play Toto in the Wizard of Oz,
That's
and I
amazing.
had so much fun. Yeah, I had so much fun. I had so much fun, and I loved it. I loved it. It was the start of that moment of being like, oh, this is how I start creating friendships. This is how I start creating connections to people. This is how I start showing people who I am. This is how I show people stories that haven't been seen before. I know everybody's seen Wizard of Oz, but that's kind of what put that trajectory in. So then throughout school, I just kept doing it. But then weirdly enough, when I went to university, I started as a mathematician. I was going to school to do math. Like
Wow.
I wasn't going for theater at all. Then I got into education, and I saw in Alberta, like some of the education system, especially when it's based with the Indigenous communities, is not super awesome. And I felt like I couldn't um, fix it the way I wanted to without really harming myself. And I didn't have the right type of empathy for it. And I was already taking theater classes in university as electives. And I was like, what am I doing? This is what I want to do. Like, these are the other classes I could give two shits about. And like these like, I'm getting all good grades in the drama classes, and I'm doing nothing in these other classes. So I went into it, and do you know what? It just became this thing that first it was acting, but then it started being like telling my own stories, telling stories that people don't hear a lot about, telling stories that I wanted to hear about when I was a kid, and as an adult. That's how I fell into directing, and that's how I found writing. Is like you get to tell these stories that that are yours, There's something that create from like your heart and your soul. People get to see all of this stuff, and it's not just you acting on stage somebody else's story. It's you creating a story that maybe nobody people have obviously probably thought about every story in the book, but it's in your way, and I just love that. It just brings a lot of warmth to my heart. And I also just wanted to see more Black people and more people of color on stage and off stage. So now that I run this program called Young, Gifted, and Black with Obsidian Theater here in Toronto, I get the opportunity to teach and develop like 5 Black artists every year that are directors, designers, producers, and they actually are gonna they actually get to work in the community, and people give them this opportunity now, and that like really brings a lot of warmth to me. So because nobody really gave me those opportunities as a kid. I really had to work forward and be like, this is why I'm so good. And like, and you've experienced the same thing as like, you just have this thing of there's always this other layer. I always say that racism is just annoying because it's just like this other thing that I have to freaking do before I can do my freaking job, you know? So it's like, and these inherent biases is just like the only thing that's annoying. They're just annoying. It's another thing. So if I can break those barriers down, if I can move them away, for other people, like that's kind of why I love it.
Yeah,
And
the
I'm really
community
good at it.
building. You
Yeah.
are. The community building is incredible. And when it comes to being an artist and when it comes to being a creator, what are the types of stories that you want to bring into the world?
Oh, that's great. I have like right now I'm writing a play about a mermaid that has to do with queerness and transness. So I also identify as non-binary, so I use they them pronouns. And it's kind of like this idea of just when for some reason when you're in the world something it's like I don't know if it's TYA yet, like theater for young audiences, or if it's going to be more adult rated, who knows. But it's just this idea in my head of, for my whole life I was always trying to figure out why I didn't fit. Like I just didn't, this circle just never fit into the square, and I could never figure out why. And the story is kind of about this idea of this person that's just, their whole life they've just been a mermaid stuck on land, and they just didn't know. And like the second they get to go to the water for the first time, and it's like a person of color who maybe they were told that they're not, that they can't swim because they're black, and they're not, black people can't swim, and all these other kind of stupid silly things. But then finally they hit the water and they can breathe for the first time, and they can actually explore their lives in the way that they want to. It's kind of um, that's kind of one of the stories that I want to tell. I also really would love for us to have like more like queer villains in
Mhm.
TV shows and movies, like that we can get to a point that it's like it's not a scary thing to put a villain that is like a person of color or like a queer person as a villain.
Mhm.
Um, because we can't really do that right now, because then people will be like, oh, why is a black person the villain? Why is it's like, you know what? Because why not? They can be a
Mhm.
princess, they can be a villain, they can be whatever they want. And I want that. Like I'm really searching for equity. Like that is what I'm always searching for. That's all we need, is to find way more ways of making things equitable for people, so that there isn't these little things that people have to jump through to even get the opportunity to tell those stories.
Oh, that's amazing. I'm so excited about the mermaid story because I feel like so many people in their own ways, regardless of what underrepresented community they're part of, I think there's a lot of people who feel like I've never quite fit in. To be honest, I've
Yeah.
felt like that a lot in life too. And I feel like so many people are going to relate to that. So I'm excited for when that one's ready.
Yeah. And freaking mermaids. I have a mermaid tattoo. Like I love mermaids. So
Yes, Ariel.
yes, Black Ariel, here we go. Yes.
I know something else you do on the equity side, the DEI training. So is that more of like a corporate role you do? Like what is happening there?
Yeah, my hope is like, so this is kind of my big project of this year. So right now I'm running off to Stratford, Ontario, which is the Stratford Festival, which is a huge theater festival here in Canada. And while I'm there, I'm going to be assistant directing, but it also gives me a little bit of time to be away from Toronto, which can sometimes there's just always something to do. There's always another project. There's always something, but Stratford kind of gives me this opportunity to just have my mind set on one thing. And then, of course, I can never do that. I can't just set my mind to one thing. So I'm not just doing that. I'm also working on my finishing my business plan for creating a company for equity, diversity, and inclusion training for degendering languages and front facing, like customer facing businesses. So how do we just allow? Not saying that gender should be deleted from everything that we do. That is not anything that I would ever want. But how do we make sure that people feel comfortable walking into Starbucks, walking into a meeting with a bank, with like a bank person for the first time, any of this type of stuff, and don't feel like they have that boundary already of having to tell people about their gender identity or any of these other things, that it's actually given them a space. We've trained people now to make sure we ask people these questions, make sure that they feel safe to be in those spaces, and correct people. How do we make sure that um, the people that we're working with, if there is a change in their identity or gender, that we can make it a safer space for them to feel like they can be themselves. Um, and the thing that's really hard is that gender language is ever changing and always developing. But because in America and in Canada, gender has become so politicized, it makes people feel like they have to have a political opinion about it instead of just like a human to human opinion about it. Because gender has nothing to do with politics. We know that everybody can run this, like anybody can run this country if they're not an idiot. I mean, maybe we should just stop getting idiots to run the country, and then it would be better. Maybe we should say no idiot policy for running countries. But that it's just because it's become so politicized, I think people have these strong opinions about gender, but don't actually have any understanding of what it means. So teaching people about what it means when kids are socially transitioning, when people change their pronouns, um, when we talk about people that are pregnant, that we talk about people that can have children, or using language that is just more inclusive, is something that I think is hopefully not that, it's not that hard of a concept. It just takes a little bit of work and a little bit of time. And I think I come at it with joy. I don't come at it with this I don't think it should be political anymore. I think it should just be something that we have conversations about. And yeah, so that's kind of where my business plan is going with it. Is I want to work in different communities and with different businesses across Canada and hopefully in the United States, and just have these conversations with people in a way that feels safe and fun, and also that they can make mistakes, because we all make mistakes. And I think that's one fear that a lot of people have, is making a mistake or failing at it, because failing sucks, but failing is part of learning. So yeah, that's how I'm feeling. That's what I want to do.
No, I think that's so good. And I feel, I mean, I feel like over the last couple years, there's been so many diversity trainings at companies in response to everything that was happening with Black Lives Matter. And I hope that we'll continue to see importance on DEI at corporate companies. We all know I had a corporate job before I was on reality TV, and that there's going to be real consideration that's going to come from it, and we'll see real impact. Because I even remember when I had my corporate job, I did internal and external communications, and even going to a training like that and learning about something as simple about how we communicate about bathrooms, how that can either be really validating or invalidating to people depending on how they identify in terms of their gender. It can have actual medical implications for people. And I think it just making sure that that's available to people and people being open to the new information is what's important. And I'm so excited that it's someone like you, who's this charismatic storyteller, who's probably a bit different than the people who are normally running corporate seminars, who's going to be wanting to get in there, and you're going to be educating people. I'm so excited for you and for all the potential.
Thanks, my friend. Yeah, it's just like, and like what you were just talking about with bathrooms, it's like just like the easiest thing of saying, like, so you've met this person for the first time and you don't know their gender, and they ask you where the washroom is. The men's and women's washroom is, one is to the left and one is to the right. You just say the women's washroom is to the left and the men's washroom is to the right. And if you need an accessible washroom, we have one on whatever floor, you know? So it's just like, it's doing those little things that it may not make an impact on a lot of people who understand their gender, who look like what we perceive what that gender is supposed to look like, but it can really make a person's day just so much better. And that's all I really ask. And like, I'll tell you, the last one that I did, my favorite story from it is the guy at the end. He came up to me and he said, "Oh, thanks, man, for this talk about gender." And he goes, "Oh shit, like I just called you, man, and we just had this long conversation about it, and I'm so sorry." And I was like, no, like the best thing is that now you just said that like you're learning, like you're developing, you're like, you just corrected yourself. This is a 3-hour workshop. I'm not asking you to change everything you are in 3 hours, but you just thought about it. And like, that's all I'm asking, right?
100%. And I'm happy that you're able to. Yeah, I feel like you approach it with so much compassion too, where we're not perfect, but as long as you're making the effort to get better, that's what's important.
Yeah, because I fuck up people's pronouns all the time. I fuck up my own pronouns sometimes. Like, and I've been doing it for 10 years. Like, and I still fuck it up sometimes. You know, so it's just about it's about knowing like what is compassion and how do you show empathy. These are like just things that I think we sometimes forget, especially in the corporate world, especially in places where we're just supposed to sit down and do our damn job. We forget that like we're still working with people.
Completely. All right, we're going to wrap soon, but I want to play a quick game with you. I'm going to ask you a question that is so silly. Well, first, you are a musical theater fan, right?
I am a medium musical theater fan. Yeah,
okay,
yeah.
Okay.
Like I don't like Hamilton though, and I'm sorry for everybody that I just don't like it. I'm sorry.
Okay, that is relevant to this game because I love playing Marry, Fuck, Kill, or I guess Marry, F, Kill. I don't know. You can say fuck or you can not say fuck. I'm trying to decide if I want to say fuck on this podcast. But it's for musical theater productions.
Okay, deal.
Okay, so the first one, the theme is animals. So Cats versus The Lion King versus Beauty and the Beast.
Okay, so we are killing cats. Sorry, I love cats. Like my cat is amazing. But what was that? There's Beauty and the Beast. What was this?
The Lion King.
Yeah, I'm gonna fuck Lion King because Mufasa. Like if he was a real person, and then I'm gonna marry Beauty and the Beast.
Beautiful. Okay, second one. Wicked versus The Phantom of the Opera versus Chicago.
Okay, kill Phantom of the Opera. Like, what's wrong with your face? The opera is weird, and there's a chandelier that's going to attack me, and I'm not interested in that. And then I'm gonna fuck Chicago because that's what the whole play is about. And then marry
Wicked.
Wicked. Yeah, marry Wicked because I love to sing Defying Gravity in the shower. And then for my final performance in university, we did Loathing, me and my friend, which actually wasn't my friend at the time, now is my friend, after we did that song. It's about hating each other, but then at the end we found friendship and we're still friends 15 years later.
There you go. Okay, next one is somewhat history. So I feel like this is going to be an easy one for you.
Okay.
Hamilton versus Miss Saigon versus Spamalot. And I use this being the history category very loosely.
Okay, so we're gonna kill Hamilton. I'm so sorry, everybody. I'm so sorry. I know you all love it so much. I'm gonna fuck Spamalot because I think I can only watch it once, and then marry
Miss Saigon.
Miss Saigon. Yeah, Miss Saigon, banger. One of my best friends was the lead in that in New York, so I gotta marry that one.
All right, last one. Hairspray versus Kinky Boots versus the Book of Mormon.
Okay. Really? That's tough. I think I'm gonna. I think I have to kill Hairspray. Oh no.
No, but this is your fantasy. It's not mine. I'm just reacting to your fantasy.
I don't want to kill any of them. But I have. Yeah. Yeah. And then I'm gonna Hairspray, kill. Then what were the last two? Now my brain is just mush.
Kinky Boots and Book of Mormon.
Yes. I'm gonna marry Kinky Boots and fuck Book of Mormon. Because who doesn't want to fuck a Mormon? No.
It's true. I feel like it's hard to do, right?
Yeah, I know. I actually played a sexy Mormon missionary in Rocky Horror Picture Show in university. So that was one. We were like some of the like the phantoms that do the time warp. We were all like different types of like people that live in Canada, like especially in Alberta, that are like usually like pristine, and now we turn them slutty. So we had like nuns, and I was a Mormon missionary, and it was cute. It was cute.
Oh, that is amazing. All right, Jay, where can people follow you? Where can they find you? What are you doing next?
Yes. So right now I will be in Stratford. I leave to Stratford in February to work on King Lear. So I'm assistant directing that. You can find me on the internet at Jay Themcott on Instagram and on Twitter. I'm not really on Twitter because people bully me on Twitter. and
who doesn't get bullied?
Yeah, I know. And then on TikTok, you can find me at JAY BBC10. So Big Brother Canada 10. Yeah. And you can always find me talking to Erika somewhere in Toronto, having some wine.
Yeah, always having some wine, talking, and then realizing we've hung out without even talking about reality TV.
Oh my gosh, it's so nice. It's so nice. Because there's a couple of people that I can't even hang out with my season without them just like wanting to just always go in and talk. But I'm like, bro, we have so much more to talk about.
I totally hear you. And I think that having been on reality TV, it's cool because it opens your world to so many people. And I think, oh, okay, this is somebody I would have never met or never become friends with, and now I get to meet them. On the flip side, you do meet some people in the world where I think I would be friends with this person even if we weren't connected by reality TV. Yeah. And you are definitely one of them. So I'm so happy that we were able to meet and able to become friends.
Yes, back at you, Erika. I'm so happy that this has been a connection. I'm gonna miss you. I'm gonna be gone from Toronto for 4 months. Every time I come back, though, when I come back for a little while, I'm gonna come back and I'm gonna visit you. We're gonna go for a drink. Right?
Yes, I am game. All right. Thank you for chatting with me today, friends.
Thanks for having me. Bye, everyone. Mwah.